to Eclipse Theory Games, podcast where we bring you the latest in gaming news, indie reviews, and everything else under the sun. My name is Kendall, and I'm here with my co-host,
Tony, aka intern at UBN.
That's fantastic. That's a good one. If you don't get that joke, you need to listen to better music. All right, we didn't talk about Little Brother at length on this show, so I ain't even gonna appreciate it. But the Minstrel Show is the one for me. I know a lot of people swear by the listening. You know what I mean? Minstrel Show was the one. That was my album. But enough about that, man. We got our big 50th episode. We have finally made it, man. We are back again. It's been a long journey, man. We've been rolling along, and not every episode is on YouTube, to be clear. It's our 50th overall podcast episode, but some of them are audio only. But yeah, man, we've been rolling along, keeping it going. Honestly, this episode is just gonna be a celebration of Eclipse Theory, a celebration of gaming, like what we've been playing, what we're looking forward to. You know what I mean? Maybe reaching back at some of the best memories we've had with this shit so far. But that feels like a kind of a good place to start, man. I just want to kind of talk about like how dope it is to have started this shit, like to still be going, just rolling along, recording every week at this point, and always having something to kind of break down, with my brother, with somebody that I've known since I was 8 years old. That shit is like invaluable experience for me. So I appreciate that shit, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, like you said, we literally doing this weekly now, and I don't, some people who may have jumped on after the YouTube move don't know, but we was doing this shit every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna keep it a buck. I wasn't feeling that shit because I would get like 2 weeks in and be like, yo, we ain't done shit.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers forget about you after a week. You almost like you reintroduce yourself each time. But nah, man, we done moved this shit, I mean, shit, this should be at minimum episode 99. We were actually supposed to start this shit a year before we did it.
Straight up.
We went a whole fucking year not doing this shit. And I think I just hit you up like after work. I was like, look, man, we just need to go ahead and knock this motherfucker out.
And then once we started doing it, it was just being done. You know what I mean? It's just a process.
I mean, it's literally been a year.
Yeah.
As of last Monday, I think.
Yeah,
so it's been a year since we started this shit.
Celebrate the year anniversary and the 50th episode all at once. So like that's probably why I'm feeling so sentimental about this shit right now, because it definitely is one of those things where, for me, starting Eclipse Theory was kind of one of those, you know what, let me just do it. Like that exact same feeling that you're describing. Like just fucking get up and like I want to write about games. Like I really wanted to do that at the time. So I made a website where I could write about games. And I built up a nice little catalog of games, got me a little gig at the Gamer, I got to write published articles, which was pretty dope. But transitioning that into a podcast was kind of like something that didn't feel like my bag, so to speak. Like I'm a pretty good speaker, but I'm not the most talkative motherfucker. I don't know if that makes sense.
So let's make this very clear. This was me that pushed. I pushed this nigga out the window.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It said fly.
It was always in the cards. You know what I mean? Like it's something that we gotta do. But it's been a journey for sure. Like it's been a transitional period for sure. Just kind of being front facing in this way, and it's something that's new for me. I mean, I know Tony, you kind of done a lot of DAR podcasts and everything like that, so you're more familiar with the scene. But definitely something that
this is the first video shit I did.
Oh yeah,
I did Eyes on the Ring. That was all wrestling, but that was like DIR radio. Like that was all audio.
Right.
There's one episode of the Arcade Games podcast that I was on.
Okay.
But other than that, this is, like I said, this is the first one where I was on video, and basically wilding out, like being as much of myself as possible. I mean, the first episode was recorded in my fucking car.
Yeah. The first few, to be clear.
It was like the first 15.
Yeah,
16 is the first one that's in video. Yep, so the first 15 were recorded basically in my car, unless my daughter and my girlfriend weren't home and I didn't have a risk of waking them up. Then I could do it in the crib. But there was only like 3 episodes like that. But everything else I did straight up in the car.
And that's one of those like got it out the mud stories that you tell. You know what I mean? Like we used to record this in that condition. You know what I mean? Like just the things surrounding the journey, and that's all gets kind of personal. So I won't dig too deep into that bag, you know what I mean? Because I mean, we tend to get really personal on this show. I feel like we voice our own opinions, and that's what makes Eclipse Theory games feel really special to me. It feels like truly just two people talking. Like I never have to, and it just makes sense because we both have logical opinions. I feel like we both come from a place of reason, and we can discuss pretty much anything in regards to games and make some semblance of sense. But just being able to unfiltered, raw, uncut, just kind of talk about this industry, the games, the situations. Like we talk as much about layoffs as we do about like new releases. So that shit is important too, man. Like I just feel like we set up a platform here where we can do shit like that, and that's important as hell right now.
Yeah, man. I mean, that was kind of the main thing for me doing this was yeah, if I can't cuss, if I if I can't be ridiculous, if I can't pop on randomly with the Deadpool mask on, man, I can't do it. That's always been
Man,
my thing with anything, man. If I can't put my heart in it, I just ain't gonna do the shit. I just won't. It's been a bunch of shit in my life that I was like, yo, I'm not feeling it, so I'm just not doing it. I
same.
mean, motherfucker could call me Al Bundy all they want, but
Hmm.
I could have played D1 basketball,
Hey
might have had
man,
a shot at pros. I just didn't want to play basketball anymore. I didn't care.
didn't want
I
to make
loved
it.
I loved the sport. I just didn't care. So I was like, fuck it, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, like, if everybody has the same passion for everything that we all love, then it makes the passion less special, right? Like certain people have that drive to keep working to be in that lane, you know what I mean? To go the athletic route. And that shit takes a lot, like to be clear, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, man.
we
That's just
all
a
know that.
job.
Yeah, and
When you're
it's
12, that shit is a job.
yeah, it's not fun. You know what I mean? You see videos of I forget what player I just seen a video of him like back in the day with his father, where his father's
Jalen
making him
Brunson.
do. Yeah, that's exactly what it
Yeah.
was. Yep, yep. And you watching him do drills, and he's
In hell,
exhausted and
that was
just
me.
yeah, it'd
That
be
was me
like
and
that,
my pops, man. I'm like,
and it's
dog,
required. Yeah,
it is. And like, it ain't nothing wrong with it. That's the work you got to do. And I did a different type of work as far as
right.
getting myself in the gaming industry. So like, I hustled that way.
Yeah,
But as far as that was concerned, man, if I'm AI or I'm team AI, dog, practice? Nah, dog, get me in the game. I'm straight.
I feel
Practice?
you. I feel
Mm,
you. But it's a process, you know what I mean? And everything is a process. So respecting that process and kind of building our way up one rung at a time has been crazy. Like I definitely have my moments of, things that I love to do. I have plenty of side shit going on. I like to make music. You know what I mean? I haven't dropped as much music as people want me to drop because I'm not
yeah.
dropping music to drop music. Like, you know what I mean? Like it is what it is. Like I'm dropping music when I feel the passion for it. When I put projects together, that shit takes a while. And it's not something that I expect, you know, to reach a mass audience. Because if I do that, then that's shooting yourself in the foot off all bucks. You know what I mean? Do it because you love doing it and the way you love doing it. But
But this nigga can
with
rap and he does need to drop some shit.
hey man, yeah, we got
Pressure.
we got we got
Pressure.
shit coming on. We got shit coming up. We got shit coming up for sure. But with all that being said, man, I want this episode to be a celebration of games. We can kind of dig into what's coming out, what we've been planning, and everything. But first, I want to talk about what we're anticipating because we got to talk about this fantasy critic real quick. We got to talk
Yeah.
about the
Yeah, we can talk
shifts.
about it now that I'm fucking on the board.
Yeah, shifts in energy are happening. The hierarchy of the DC universe changed
Hold up,
recently.
hold up. Don't say that because that means shit's going bad afterwards.
Hey man, listen. I don't
Like
know,
Rock's
man.
my dude, but he said that shit and it was all downhill from there.
He
That
was not
motherfucker's
wrong.
look, I mean, in a way, yes. But he said that shit. Black Adam flopped, and now he talking about doing A24 movies.
Yeah.
He got humble.
Yep. Shift that focus. It is what it is. You know what I mean? But with that being said, speaking of shifts, you went ahead and shifted up to second place. Not first. You ain't take the crown yet from you, boy. But you
It's
coming.
coming.
Yeah,
It's
I
coming.
mean, it's
I got
it's
I got a
interesting.
solid like that late March into like May. That's all me.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is how it breaks down right now. I have two games on the board and I'm sitting around 37 points. One of my games had a 90 and one had, I think, an 89. So I'm close to getting like 20 points for both games. Not quite there, so I got a 37. 37.86 to be precise. Tony, has a game that just dropped. You might have heard of it. It's called Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's the fucking Caleb Williams of this draft. Like we all wanted to get that game. We was trying to get that first pick for that reason. He nabbed it and he has 26 points off that game alone, which says a lot. Like for us to be reaching for that 90 just to get to 20 and you have that 6 points, I don't see a lot of games getting 3 points over 90 this year. And who knows if
Nah,
it holds, who knows. The thing though is I feel like I got a consistent list of 90s. You know what I mean? Like I feel like most of what I have on my list is getting pretty high rankings. I'm not going to jinx nothing, you know what I mean? Not everything is going to get that 90 ranking.
look,
But
speaking of shit niggas thought was going to do good, I would like to extend a thank you to James for taking Mario versus Donkey Kong from me.
yeah, that's the thing. Like he has 2 games on the board and he's sitting around 20 points. He was in second before, but having 2 games equal up to 20 points, that's less than the amount of points you got for your one. So that's a rough spot. He's gonna need something to jump out there for real. And we've all got bangers on our list. We got some stuff coming out that could really hit. Like, you got Star Wars Outlaws. That's such a fucking like a toss out of left field. That could be the next Jedi.
Or
I
I'd
mean,
be ad dropping.
yeah,
It's,
yeah,
it
like
is no in between. It's either one of those.
it'd be like that. Same with Rise of the Runner for real. Like I could see that being a high 90 or it could be like a solid 80. I don't see it being like a low scoring game, like a bad game.
Nah,
But
that's
it could,
probably like a 83, 84.
yeah, it could like I could see that being on some like, Ubisoft. This is cool, but it is what it is type of games. But
All of
it could
them gameplay
also
videos is looking crazy.
yeah, it could also come out and like that swordplay looks pretty fire. The traversal's about to be dope. Dropping off your glider onto your horse is something I thought I could only do in Zelda, but here we are. So I'll take it. But I mean, my list feels so I feel like I hit on Persona 3 and Like a Dragon because those were the ones where I'm like, I'm crossing my fingers. I think this is the highest ranked Yakuza game. Like that no other Yakuza game actually hit this high. So it just seemed like a game that had a bunch of shit going on. And I was like, yo, I think they're gonna fuck with it. And they did. So now I'm crossing my fingers. I really don't feel like I have to cross my fingers as hard for Hellblade 2. That's a critical darling. That's a goddamn Oscar bait
Yeah, that's
game.
good. That's gonna hit. That's
Yeah. And then the Plucky Squire, they're gonna have to fumble really hard for that to not hit. Because it's just the aesthetic. Like it's the vibe of that goddamn game that makes it such a banger. Animal Well, I think is gonna be my this could be really like one of the best games of this year and actually like knock nigga socks off, or it could be, solid or whatever. But I don't know. I just wanted
yeah,
to
but
kind
the way
of
our list is going, solid ain't gonna do it for niggas.
it's not,
It's
it's not.
it's gonna be somebody's gonna add drop at like an 80.
Man, listen, it's really getting real right now. I'm trying not to I don't think I want to waver from what I got going on my list either. Like I don't really see myself dropping or picking that up just because it's gonna have to come out for me to feel like all these jumps are wild cards until things start dropping.
I ain't gonna front. Part of me feels like I'm confident in Little Nightmares 3,
Hmm.
but if you remember when we drafted, I was tossing up between that and Pacific Drive, and I was fucking right. I was
Yeah.
fucking right about Pacific Drive.
That drink came out and they killed for
Yeah.
sure. I don't even know what that is. I'm gonna have to check that while we talk. But yeah, nah, that was definitely one to pick up. Granted, Little Nightmares, dope series. And it could come out and still kind of kill it. But it's also being made. Well, Pacific Drive is actually at a 78. So that's not that
God
high.
damn.
Yeah, it's at a
I swear
78.
that shit was higher. Damn, them scores must have dropped quick because that shit was sitting at like a 90
Yeah, maybe
when it dropped. I
more
swore it
a
was.
lot of more reviews. And don't get us wrong, this Metacritic might make it seem kind of harsh. Like IGN gave it a 7, so that might have had some impact. But
Of
uh,
course.
you know, a, a 78 is a solid score. Like we get very hung up on review scores. We talk about this sometimes. Review scores are like a barometer, not necessarily like the end all be all. Like this is how you know the range of this game. You don't know exactly how radiated you are using that little, you know, barometer walking around, Chernobyl.
Okay, so
But
it was an 82 when it dropped.
okay. I mean, this
80,
dropped a couple
82 on Open
points.
Critic, so it's only 4 points.
Yeah, yeah, it happens.
I still
Which
feel like I was right though.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah,
Little Nightmares, the tricky thing, having a new developer is always kind of like, do you have the same passion for what they was trying to do, or are you going to try to do more of what we already got? So
Yeah. And see, that's what made me hesitant and made me flip flop at first, but I love the first two so much. I'm like, let me just ride this out.
yeah, yeah. But honestly, bro, like just down in the back real quick, I really just want to talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and like the reviews dropping, everybody's impressions. I don't know anything. Like we don't have any spoilers. This is prior to the game dropping. I know it comes out the week that this episode comes out, but this is the Monday episode. So we're completely spoiler free here. Um, I've heard such crazy things about this fucking game. Like,
So I haven't read anything. I've only heard that the couple of the mini games are fucking incredible.
yeah, I've heard that
Um,
too.
that's about it. I'm trying my absolute best not to look at anything.
Same. I've kind of gone on my blackout. I listened to a little bit of a review or two, but just to
Matter of
kind
fact,
of
my tax
see,
money hit. I'm about to pre-order this bitch right now.
hey, listen, you gotta get in them. I already got that bitch pre-ordered. I'm just waiting for that download to hit, bro. I'm telling you. Because so it's interesting. I've heard different takes on like the open world. I've actually heard people who didn't like it. I heard somebody give it a 3 out of 5 recently. But
Kind of funny.
that's yeah, I
Yeah.
did. Yeah, but that's interesting though,
I
because
was because
like
I was listening to that shit the other day too, and I'm like,
man,
ooh, ooh,
it
ooh.
it's very interesting because that was Roger from Kind of Funny, who's not like, a person that's played the game before. He's looking, I mean, he's gotten into this whole universe recently off of Remake, and that's a dope set of eyes to see this from. He's looking at it like, oh, I didn't like the open world, like, and he didn't like the ending. Those are the two
Right.
key points, which are the two divisive things I've heard people
But
talk about, even
I,
people
I
that
do
like it.
I do think there is something to be said for people who are new to Final Fantasy VII through
Yeah,
this, as opposed to those of us who are playing it with nostalgia goggles. Because
yep,
what we're looking for is callbacks and just seeing the characters again in a new way, or seeing the characters the way we thought we saw them in '97.
exactly. Yeah,
So there's that. So I do think there is a validity to people who review it a particular way,
yeah.
like you did.
Yeah, and I feel like there's validity on both sides, you know what I mean? Like everybody has a take and a perspective and they're all equally valid. Like for us, I'm looking for all the things I know are there. I'm literally playing the original again right now just to kind of refresh my memory so I can notice every NPC. Because when I started realizing just how deep Final Fantasy VII Remake went with it, like people say the same shit. Like sometimes they remix what they say, but they're having the same conversations in the same places 90% of the time in that game in
Yeah,
a crazy way. So it's I'm really can't be disappointed if they're just still doing that, but at the same time, there's a lot there. Like there's a lot of open world there. And I know they're going to try to fill it out with a lot of stuff to do. The way that it's been described, from what I've heard, sounds pretty dope. Where you're kind of like collecting intel about the entire world. So everything kind of like feeds into this, progress meter and all that, but it's all going to depend on how it feels. I need to get my hands on it and in a
yeah.
bigger way than the demo.
Because I mean, for me, having, I mean, Final Fantasy VII, the original, if you really think about it, it's an open world game. Like
Yeah.
this is just the super high res 4K version of that. So
Yep.
the open world was going to be huge. It was the only way to do it. Um, and I'm with that. I just hope that it, like they sound kind of funny. It really isn't like it feels like a Ubisoft game from that
Yeah.
standpoint, where it's like, yo, we just had to fill some shit in here.
Right. And it's funny
So
to
I'm
hear them
hoping for
talk
that.
about it.
Yeah, I'm hoping that it still feels somewhat like the original Seven did, and
Right.
it's just a matter of it just being full of content. Like that's fine with me. But if it gets to a point where it starts feeling like, hey man, we just look, just run around in a circle a couple times and press X, like I don't want that kind of shit.
And that was also my worry, just looking at now that I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, like this if I was to play it again now, it'd be my third time beating it fully through. I can kind of see how the first time I played it, I really appreciated the padding. Like just straight up like, okay, y'all built this up more. That's pretty dope. I get to spend more time in Sector 7 and more time doing this, Mako reactor. The second time, I'm like, man, I would really like to just get through this Mako reactor. Like, I don't really have to sit here and crouch and crawl through the goddamn vents, and all this crazy stuff. But
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think this is something that needs to be said. replay value is overrated as fuck.
Hmm.
And it's about time we're honest about that shit.
Interesting take. That's an interesting take.
It's like it's overrated in the sense that like people will change the review of a game based on whether or not they feel like it has replay value. And I'm like,
Okay.
dog, you're not going to play that game immediately after you just got done with it. Stop
Yeah.
it. And
You
that's
know,
basically what they're making that criteria on. Oh, am I going to turn this right back on and start over again? No, you just got done with the experience.
yeah, yeah, I can agree with that. I can agree with that because I mean, I replay shit that nobody would think to. You know what I mean? Like, there's a game like Baldur's Gate where you just want to keep playing because you can pick a million different types of characters, but or like Spider-Man 2 because it's like pick up and play fun. But something like a Final Fantasy 7 or 7 remake is kind of a meaty ass game. Like that's not that Baldur's Gate isn't, but it's just such a heavy ass experience. Like to sit there
But
and
see, there
grind your
also
way
is
through.
no alternative experience with
Right,
Final Fantasy VII. And like you said with Baldur's Gate, there are other characters, there are other classes,
right,
stuff like that. Diablo, you could start over immediately after and have a completely different experience.
right, right. Those
But
games are built around that shit.
yeah, like the standard, OG turn-based RPG, dog, you're not going to do that again.
And you don't
Not
really
anytime
need
soon.
like it's like a good book. A good book doesn't need to make you pick it up every, 5 years to re-experience that magic. That one experience is going to live in your mind. And Final Fantasy VII is like that. Like when I was a kid, I ran through that game like once. I would pick it up and start it, and I got to like certain points and just kind of fell off every time. But it was that one first experience where I got to see damn near the whole story. I don't think I actually rolled credits back as a kid. I think I've admitted this before, but it was. I'm doing it now. I'm about to do it before Rebirth comes out. But it was that first experience that really like sticks with you. That's the impactful moment, and that's what matters. Like if you liked that enough to where you'll go back, then you will revisit it. You don't need it to have mechanics and aspects that make it replayable. So I can feel that. I feel that. I like to have those mechanics. I'm not gonna lie. Like New Game Plus at launch
I
would
mean,
be
yeah, it's
dope.
cool. Yeah, it's cool, but I've never played it. I've never in my life ran New Game Plus right after beating
Right
the game.
after.
Never. I will like Ragnarok,
Hmm.
Valhalla drop. I played the fuck out of that because it was a new experience.
Yeah.
Once I was done, I have not picked up Ragnarok again, and I probably won't
Yeah.
for another 5 to 6 months, maybe a year,
Yeah,
because
same.
I've already had that experience. Like, there's just something about that doesn't appeal to me to run back. Obviously, the game is great. I've talked about the game like it's one of the greatest things I've ever experienced in
Right.
my fucking life.
Gave
But
us your
that's
game of
just
the year.
how, yeah, that's just how gaming works for me. It's just like I don't need to run narrative based games back like that.
Right.
So
Right.
my like I don't look at a game and go at the end of it, I wonder how much more I can do after this. And that's going to affect how I feel about it. No.
Nah, nah. If I'm playing through it and there's enough to do in this moment, that's what I'm looking at, honestly.
Yeah.
Like right now I'm playing Jedi Survivor and I want to take some time to talk about Jedi Survivor 2 in a minute because I gotta talk about that game.
I still
But
ain't played that shit.
we got to talk about that in a second. But that game, I haven't beaten it yet. I need to finish it. I'm like near the end, just kind of fucking around. Like there's so much to do on so many planets in that game that I'm just running around doing open world stuff. And that makes it a great game. Like if I do this, if I really commit to every treasure chest, every force echo, everything in the fucking game, I'm not gonna play this game for like 10 years. I'm gonna be sick of this fucking. I don't even want to see the key art for this fucking game after this shit because it's real. Like there's a lot of stuff in this game, but that says more to me than like Spider-Man 2 coming out with New Game Plus is awesome. That's dope, but it doesn't impact how I feel about how good the game was. If it did, we'd have to go re-review the shit. You know what I mean? Like because now
Yeah.
that's out. Now it has a different replay value. So I feel it. But speaking of Jedi Survivor, man. That game, that game is the one that should have made my top 10 list or top 5 list last year. It would have had I played it early. Cause man, we're getting a lot of sequels recently where they're taking like all the best aspects of the other games, and you're like, how can they even add to this? I feel like I don't even know what I would want more, but somehow the sequel delivers just more and more of what you want and in a better form. Like Tears of the Kingdom, like God of War Ragnarok. And I think Jedi Survivor is also in that camp, bro. Like, it's just Jedi Fallen Order, but fucking way better. I don't know how else to describe it, like, without spoiling too much. It's got more lightsaber stances. The open worlds feel so much bigger and like explorable, and you're going from planet to planet. And bro, if nobody's like talked to you about the traversal in this game, let me tell you, this is some of the best traversal I've played in the game in years. Like just a game that doesn't feel like it's built around traversal, and that you might not expect that. Like it, you play the character and it's like, oh, he might be a little. You expect him to be a little clunkier or heavier or whatever. He's a swordsman technically, but man, especially once you get late in the game, you're doing like the most Jedi shit ever, and you're out here just getting around places in ways that make NPCs comment on it. Like, bro, you're actually kind of crazy. Like, it's
So
that though.
my thing with Star Wars has always been that the series to me, the moments in the series to me have always been at their best when they say fuck the nerds.
Hmm.
Like the ones who get me, that's not canon.
Yeah,
Those guys, the ones that complain nobody hates Star Wars more than Star Wars fans.
absolutely is one of those.
And
And
it's
I'm
fucking ridiculous.
very familiar with those fan bases for sure.
And I love Star Wars. But dog, if they're because there's only when you look at the OG shit, not counting the prequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy,
Mhm.
we got three movies that quote unquote established canon. Man, if we operated on that shit, none of these games would be fun.
Straight up, like just wouldn't feel real. Like it would feel like fan
We
fiction in a
we
little.
got these motherfuckers with fucking wizard powers, shooting lightning out their fingertips and moving stuff with their hands and telling motherfuckers that we ain't the motherfuckers you looking for.
Facts.
Expand on it. So yeah,
Facts.
if Princess Leia is out in space and she throw her hand out and she start flying, I'm with it. You know why? She's a fucking wizard.
Facts. A wizard samurai in space. To
Yeah.
be clear, like that's what we doing here. So I feel you on that. And yeah, Jedi Survivor feels like it's taking aspect. I don't want to spoil anything, but it's taking aspects of the lore I did not expect to be touched on, and like really kind of talking about them, like having you kind of experience stuff involving them. It's creating shit. And the weirdest thing is, it's sometimes on a rare occasion doing stupid shit. Like just having fun with the fact that Star Wars is nonsense, alien nonsense. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. It's a
Like
space opera.
I'll give
Literally.
you right. I'll give you one spoiler, minor spoiler. It's not really a story spoiler. It's just a character you meet. It's the fisherman dude. They named this man Scuba Stev because they wanted it to
Scuba
sound
Steve.
bruh. Bruh, like they're having fun with, and this is a character you recurringly have conversations with. Like this is not somebody you see once as a gag. He's kind of a character in that bitch, and it's crazy. I'm like, y'all really went there with it. Y'all went all the way with it, and then
That's what
that
I'm
type
saying,
of
man. Just have fun with this shit, man.
yes, that type of boldness is great. It's one of those games with some dope trophy names. You know what I mean? Like I won't spoil any of those here, but play this game. It's a contender for one of the best games last year. And if last year wasn't the year that it would have been on that, top six list that we all hyped up at the Game Awards and everything. Because special video game right there, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that'll be next, but I only got but so much tax money, so I
I
gotta be
feel
smart
you.
about
I
it. Still
absolutely
gotta get
feel
my
you.
car fixed.
Man, listen, I'm trying to move, so my backdrop's gonna change pretty soon, y'all. I'm just gonna let you know now, but that's gonna cost a pretty penny. It might be a little empty back there for a little minute, but don't judge. But
White
yeah,
walls.
man, listen, as long as I got four of them around me and a roof, I'm good, bro. Listen, I ain't out on the streets, it's all good. But now there's a few things that I haven't gotten to touch from last year still, like Resident Evil 4. I just can't bring myself to drop that much money on games. I've been buying too much shit, you know.
It's tough. It's fucking tough. Like
It's
we
tough times.
look, one of you podcast networks, Wave Sports Entertainment, the volume, one of y'all hit us up.
Listen,
Just
we
pay us to
need
do this shit. We
the
need an
sponsorship
influx
would be
of
nice.
cash.
Facts. Because trying to keep up with all this shit is getting crazy, especially because everything is good all of a sudden. Like this is an era where we live in our dreams in every game.
It makes no fucking sense how good everything has been while these people are basically working under the threat of losing their jobs. It's
Yeah.
fucking insanity.
Yeah, and that's a much, much deeper and realer conversation right there. But it's like I feel like there's just straight up less. I honestly I'll say that you can't afford to drop a bad game at this point in history. Like,
Yeah, you can. This ain't a filler era. This you can't afford to
yeah,
have no filler. Like,
yeah, that, motherfuckers are not
nah,
doing like random platformers that they just kind of throw out there at you. That shit. No disrespect to platformers. I love platformers,
nah,
but
not unless you're indie.
yeah, right.
That's it. You can get away with it as an indie, but if
But
you
the
if
thing
you working at
about
AAA life,
listen, the thing about indie games is that they indie games are inspired as fuck. Like I feel like that's almost the definition of the category at this point. Because we call shit that's not indie all the time, but it's always because it's a smaller scale game that has a cool idea. Like somebody who's sitting in a room. It's a at a bar with your friends and you wrote someone a napkin that made you $1 million type of game. That's what I feel about indie games. Like, oh, what if, Mario was a little Meat Boy and you died over and over, but you got to see your ghost. Like Super Meat Boy came from some bullshit. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
all these games, they just hit in a different place. I appreciate them.
we need
Man,
more of them too.
we absolutely
Because we
do.
we need that in between shit, man. That in between shit to hit it at like 15 to like $25 price point.
Yep.
That shit is huge for a time like this where all the AAAs is coming out and they $70.
Yeah,
Give me some of that
absolutely.
fire A grade shit that ain't priced the same.
And I'm not gonna lie to you, that's one of the major reasons that I want to kind of consider the game I want to ask you about next, which is Helldivers 2. I know that game was out at 40, which is a pretty reasonable price.
That's
Have
a
you been
very
playing it?
reasonable price.
Yeah.
I just bought it today.
Okay, okay. So you just copped it.
Um, yeah, I just bought it today. So when we get done, I'll be hopping on with Jers and them and giving that some run. Um,
Man.
but yeah, no, that's one that I've been looking forward to playing and diving into. And it's one of
Yeah.
those like success stories, especially when you look at how the CEO is kind of carrying himself
Hmm.
throughout all this. And it kind of makes you root for them even more. But it's just insane how like quickly things have blown up for him. And the other part is like I think people underestimate the value of ridiculousness when it comes to making money
Yeah.
because Helldivers itself is not a ridiculous premise. We've got Starship Troopers, and that's the main comparison that you see.
Right.
Like we've got video games that are ridiculous, but it's about what people are doing in the game, and then it makes people laugh or it makes people share it with friends, and then everybody goes, oh, I want to play this shit. I want to see what this is about. And then you look at the attention to detail. I saw a video the other day where they said, like, if you're up in your destroyer before you drop down,
Hmm.
every destroyer that you see on the planet, that is somebody in real time. That's not like some loading screen type shit,
That's fire.
just off in the background. That is everybody in real time
Yo.
dropping or attacking something. It's
That's dope as
crazy.
fuck. Yeah, that's dope. That's like the type of stuff we used to dream about. The stuff I hype up SOCOM and shit back in the day about, like
Yeah,
just having that interactivity. And I've heard somebody make the point that that game is like TikTokable as hell, like making little clips of
very
just
much so.
nonsense shit happening, fucking up your teammates, just blowing everything sky high. It's almost got me in. I'm again trying not to spend all my fucking money on video games, but as soon as I feel like I need to cop something to play with the homies, that's the next thing on my list because that shit looks like it's just fun. It's one of those games I'll play. I don't care how much I enjoy shooters. That shit looks like a fun time.
Yeah, I can't wait. And I mean, like I said, man, my shit is limited. It's this and Final Fantasy, and then I am done until Zal drops.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
So
probably won't even be able to get that first day, but that will be the next one.
yeah, that's definitely up on my list too. I still got a cop Prince of Persia. So that's definitely got to get bought. Yeah, but I mean, honestly, Game Pass saved my life because I would have been cop Persona. I'm scared to start Persona 3. Like, as soon as I
That's
start,
because you will
yeah, yeah,
lose
lose my
yourself.
life, lose my entire life into that
You'll
game.
forget that you had to move.
Oh my God, I'll be yeah, she'll be knocking on the goddamn door the next day. Like, yeah, the next tenants are trying to come up in here. But nah, that game I've heard again. crazy things about it. Persona is so fucking consistent. It's just like you know what you're getting into if you peep what those games are. So I
Right.
gotta jump in there. Man, everything is all about timing though. Like I gotta get all this shit out the way. I gotta play Final Fantasy Rebirth, which is going to be probably one of the next things we talk about. Like I know we got a few episode concepts coming up, but there's going to be an episode dedicated to Final Fantasy Rebirth. It might be a spoiler cast because
That's the pick.
yeah, that might be the move. But that's got to get beaten. You know, all the games that come out in the middle of the year got to get beaten so I can get to this Elden Ring. That Elden Ring DLC,
That shit looked incredible.
I'm ready to hurt
That
again.
shit looks incredible.
But there's just so much. Like, what the fuck is even going on half the
There
time?
are, I've never seen a developer so fucking creative in like character design.
Every time. Like, every time the fucking hippo porcupine, that's nuts. What the fuck
Oh,
are we doing?
how many games have they made? And I don't ever look at them games and go, "Oh, it's all the same shit." No,
Man,
it's not.
straight up and down. Like from like the first enemies that you see, the baseline enemies that you encounter in these games, they have some they're always so fucking inspired. And their DLC feels like it was intended in a good way. It feels like it was intended from the start. Like
Yeah,
when they announced the DLC, we all kind of assumed it would have something to do with Mikola, you know, having very little answers on Mikola, who is like the brother of Melania, the famous fucking stupid ass hard boss. Mikola being like this exalted guy who we don't know much about. And then you can find this dude, mild Elden Ring spoilers. Like Elden Ring is hard to spoil, so I'm just gonna tell you some shit you can find. But
yeah,
you can go fight a boss named Moog who kidnapped Mikola. Mikola being one of the most important characters in the game, you know. Mikola has been trapped as like a child, and this boss tried to like grow them up basically, like so that he could. Yeah, I'm not gonna dig too deep into the lore. It gets weird and wild, but he tried to grow up my man Mikola. All you see is his hand hanging out of like this egg, thinking that like it's a corpse. But when the DLC started to like roll out, like people started to see pictures of it, we're like, okay, you're gonna use that hand to get into the DLC, and they've since confirmed like that's exactly where you enter it. It's just like it all feels like okay, that's what you were doing this whole time. Like it's crazy. They have such a vision for everything that they do in every step of the way. I can't wait to see like anything that's next for
I'll tell you what though, George R. R. Martin is an elite troll.
me. Wait a minute.
I'm working on the next book. It's gonna take me forever, but in the meantime, I'm gonna do this whole ass video game.
Yeah, yeah, man. That's a again another conversation. We might roll out on just George R. R. Martin accountability because shit's crazy right now. I don't want to pressure this dude into finishing his work because art comes at his pace. I was just talking about this shit with music. I hate that shit. Like I'm like, bro, if I don't ever drop another song
Look,
again, it is
I
what it
ain't
is.
pressuring him. I'm just saying it's a little weird that you done
Man, it's
came out and
hard.
made a whole other story. Like that's hard.
It is.
Like you got some established shit over here that's what 4 or 5 books deep, and you drop some new shit.
But you know what? That makes perfect sense because you got a rule book already over here. This motherfucker went crazy on Elden Ring. Like whatever
You
he
went
could,
nuts.
it was like, oh, this is a whole new blank slate. I can make whatever happen. This thing is this person and also this person, and they got married, and like it. I'm trying not to spoil it, but I feel like you can't really spoil these games because
You
they
can't.
really
You can't
like,
because like the lore, the lore isn't like straightforward in the sense
yeah,
that like they give it to you as you're going. It's
right.
just a lot of discovery.
It's all just like the facts
Like
about the shit. Like
you could literally tell somebody something right now, and they might never experience that shit in their entire playthrough.
Yep. If I told you the biggest spoiler in the game, you might just think it was a lore bit, like you know, just a fact about one of the gods and shit, and not even realize like how game changing it is because you got to see stuff play out mid cutscene where like somebody lights the tree on fire and it's like, what the fuck? What does this mean? Somebody explain this to me. I need Vati videos immediately. But
You know
I,
what?
yeah,
Before we get out of this motherfucker,
yes, sir.
um, I don't think we've ever actually like it's been mentioned, but we didn't ever actually tell people how this shit like really started. Like we kind of offhand mentioned it occasionally.
Yeah, Because honestly, from to me, it just kind of feels like it just started. Like, I mean, we just kind of was like, yeah, I'm about to start this fucking. I mean, hey, we've never
Well,
gone
what is that? But I mean, like, all right. So, like Kendall said, we know each other since we was 8.
right,
Me and Kendall have literally been friends since we were 8. But we ain't really been brothers since until like high school.
right.
Like that's when that shit really like started. Just because this nigga gave me a CD. And I keep
Kind of,
saying
yeah,
this shit because
kind of,
it's the fucking truth.
yeah, yeah.
Um, this nigga gave like he would burn like Kendall was my plug. Kendall was my music plug because my parents
Facts.
was very pressed about not giving me shit that cussed in it, which is why I grew up on Will Smith. But
I never
I
put two
would
and
go
two
to
together
him.
on that. I ain't gonna lie. That's
Yeah,
funny.
that's I mean, like I'll say I fuck with Will Smith. I still listen to his shit.
I
But
respect it.
like when I would go to Kendall, he burned me Chicken and Beer. He burned me Murphy's Law.
Yep.
Um, T.I.'s King. Like those are the top 3 that he burned me. And this nigga sat down next to me on the bench and handed me a copy of the Minstrel Show. He didn't burn the shit. He gave me his copy.
To borrow.
Like he gave me that shit.
Like
So
you
I
have
took
to
it
play
home.
this.
Dog, I took it home and I'm listening to this. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is this shit here?
Yeah.
And I think I kept it for like a week.
Yeah. I
Like I think it
mean,
was in the bottom of my book bag for like a week. And I was listening to that shit. And that's how the whole shit started was like Kendall made me realize I was into a certain type of rap that I didn't know I was into.
man, man,
Um,
that's crazy actually.
so where I got that's how I got in a little brother. That's how I
Yep.
got into all the Fonte stuff, just going forward, foreign exchange, all of that. Like this nigga is
Yeah.
100% responsible for expanding my rap palette.
And you know what's wild about it? Like I had no frame of like you said, this is new for you. So I ain't it's not that I thought you liked this type of music. I know that you like this type of humor. Honestly, I probably wouldn't have gave you that shit if it wasn't for Chappelle Show. Like that
That's a fact.
album, that album is like a Chappelle Show skit in album form. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like the whole vibe is just there. Like so anybody that fucks with that type of vibe, you're gonna fuck with this album. And I'm just like,
yeah.
this is
That's
I've
all facts.
I have never, this is how I knew that this nigga was my brother because I've never listened to something or experienced any type of form of media and immediate before this moment, immediately been like, this motherfucker right here would love that shit. Like I was like, you the first person that came, like, bro, this is a you ass thing right here. Like, okay, yeah, nah, I gotta just here, just try this shit. It's like somebody handing you a pipe, like a crack pipe, real quick. Like, yo,
Dog, like, hey, you experience this shit, you're gonna love it.
it's gonna be wild.
But
But
yeah,
nah,
man, that's how
that
this shit
is.
started, man.
That is
And
the
then
origins.
yeah, we've been locked in ever since. I mean, I shouldn't even say we've been locked in ever since because there was like a 5 year period where me and Kendall did not speak to each other. And I don't know
Yeah,
beef shit. Life just got in the way.
yeah,
I was going through some shit. He was going through some shit.
yeah.
And we didn't talk for like 5 or 6 years, like
And
in a row.
it's it's crazy because like it feels like it didn't happen consecutively like that. Like it was like you know we hit each other up right now and then, but that's all neither here nor there. But there's been periods like that, like just here and there. You know, you fall out with people, but coming back together, this shit is literally a Cameron and Mace type moment. Like we over here
Minus
podcasting
the
again.
beef. But yeah, minus the
Right.
beef because
Yeah,
yeah.
minus the beef, because that ain't really happening. You know what I mean? You
But
know,
yeah,
if it
no,
did,
we niggas, niggas linked back up, and then it was just, hey, you want to write for this shit? Yeah. Hey, you want to do a
man,
podcast? Yeah.
facts.
And
And
here we
like
are.
now it's we just on to whatever next we're gonna do. So really looking forward to continuing to make moves, you know, with the people that I fuck with, the people that I know I can rely on to be solid. And we're gonna keep this Eclipse Day thing going as long as possible, man. Like because I'm there's very few things that I'm more proud of than this. We might talk about some other projects that we got going on, but this right here feels like a passion project, something that I've always wanted to do. And this is the form of games media that I want to be part of. So,
Thanks.
and at that and to kind of round everything out, because I know we probably gonna get up out of here. Shout out to you guys. Anybody that's out there actually, you know, fucking with us, listening to us on a regular basis, who's listens to the podcast enough to care about this particular episode where we talking about our own personal lives and shit. You know what I mean? I appreciate you because this is a personal thing, man. Like we're out here putting ourselves out there every single week, just like, you know, our feelings and opinions and our takes on shit. And sometimes the most intellectual, well thought out shit ever, and sometimes it's emotional driven, and it's like, yo, fuck this person, and you know, you got to kind of take it for what it is. But it's always authentic. It's always who we are and what we feel, and I appreciate y'all for rocking with us. Please
Yeah,
continue
if
to
you
rock.
listen to this one, we know y'all fuck with us.
Hell yeah, exactly. Especially if you got to this point. But now with that being said, man, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this one up. I appreciate you guys for listening once again. If you did like the episode and you want to hear more from us, let us know. Leave a comment down below and make sure you like and subscribe because that shows us how much we're doing right. Definitely hit us up on Twitter and everything. We're on Twitter at Eclipse Theory and on Instagram at Eclipse.theory. Want to hear from you guys because we definitely want to make this a show that's for you. I mean, it's for us, but it's for you as well. But until next time, man, I am Kendall. This is Tony. And make sure you guys keep